Saram, my humble pranams to the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagavan. Thank you so much for being here today. It just gives me a lot of joy to see the same group meeting up every Tuesday. It's just wonderful. And I agree with Professor Suresh when he says that, there's a reason why we keep on coming here, and there is that drive, that Atmic consciousness which keeps on pulling us every Tuesday despite all the other temptations, all the other things that we could do. We still decide to sacrifice and convene here, and that sacrifice it doesn't seem like a sacrifice actually, because somewhere down the line we have all decided that this is priority and everything else is not as important as this time that we have meeting each other every week. So thank you again. So now let's move to our presentation. The letter that we were given, you are Sat Chit Ananda. I will read the letter. Boys, through the awareness of divine alone, can we really bring true peace to the world. There is no doubt that considerable effort is being made by great leaders of the world in the material plane to bring about peace and harmony. But Sai does not see any sign of their success. The only way left for us is to turn our minds within ourselves and find out the true and everlasting bliss, the everlasting basis, the supreme source from which alone we can get true happiness and peace in the world. I repeat this sentence. The only way left for us is to turn our minds within ourselves and find out the true and everlasting basis, the supreme source from which alone we can get true happiness and peace in the world. That basis is God, who is in fact dwelling in the hearts of every one of us. He is the universal spirit. Every one of us is the very embodiment of divinity. Your true being is Sat Chit Ananda, namely existence, consciousness, bliss. You have forgotten this truth. Remember it now, and take the holy and powerful name of the reality until your mind disappears and you stand revealed as truth itself, and enjoy as I have been enjoying the eternal bliss which never exhausts itself. With love and blessing, Sri Sathya Sai Baba. The second part of the letter. Before proceeding with the study questions, take a moment to see how Sathya Sai Baba explained the meaning of the words ignorance and purity in his book Satya Sai Vahini. This could provide additional insight into discussions of your study group. Excerpts from Satya Sai Vahini's chapter, The Inner Inquiry. The delusion Maya affects the consciousness and warps the intellect, so that people forget their genuine nature, which is ecstatic delight, Ananda. They impose on themselves the limitation of individuality and consider themselves as individual souls, jiva. In inverted commas, I am not happy, I have no joy, I want this, I must earn this. Such longings constitute the individual. This attitude is the core of ignorance. The faith that has taken root, namely, there is a universe that contains me along with other similar seekers of happiness. In that search, I meet joy, and grieve and encounter birth and death. This is the fundamental ignorance, Ajnana. I'll read this paragraph again. The delusion Maya affects the consciousness and warps the intellect so that people forget their genuine nature, which is the ecstatic delight, Ananda. They impose on themselves the limitation of individuality and consider themselves as individual souls, jivas. I am not happy, I have no joy, I want this, I must earn this. Swami says such longings constitute the individual. This attitude is the core of ignorance. The faith that has taken root, namely, there is a universe that contains me along with other similar seekers of happiness. In that search, I meet joy and grief and encounter birth and death. This is the fundamental ignorance or Ajnana. The third part of the letter, excerpt from Satyasai Vahini's chapter, Religion is Experience. Atma, the divine self, is not subject to material or worldly limitations or laws. By its very nature, it is free, unbounded. It is purity. It is holiness. It is fullness. But since it is associated with material, inert bodies, it imagines that it is also a product of material composition. The Atma, the divine self, is not subject to material or worldly limitations or laws. By its very nature, it is free. It is unbounded. It is purity. It is holiness. It is fullness. But since it is associated with material, inert bodies, it imagines that it is also a product of material composition. So that concludes the letter. Now we move on to the questions. How does turning the mind within lead to peace and harmony in the world outside? How does turning the mind within lead to peace and harmony in the world outside? What are the ways in which we can experience Swami's revelation that each one of us is Sat Chit Ananda, namely existence, consciousness, bliss? What are the ways in which we can experience Swami's revelation that each one of us is Sat Chit Ananda, namely existence, consciousness, bliss? So in order to move forward, perhaps it's best that we go through the definition of Sat Chit Ananda. Sat is truth, Chit is consciousness, Ananda is bliss. Truth, consciousness, and bliss are not attributes of Brahman, but Brahman itself. The one who is liberated knows himself to be Satchit Ananda. Dear brothers and sisters, this presentation will take us through a journey of recognition. A journey of recognition of our true nature, of who we truly are, or what we truly are. And perhaps experiencing the attributes of what our true nature shows. So what better way to start our presentation with Satyasai speaks? And let's listen to what Swami thinks the meaning of Satchit Ananda is. Are you all able to hear the video? The audio from the video?
Yes, brother.
Okay, thank you.
ఆనందం యొక్క సంపూర్ణమైనటువంటి అర్థాన్ని మనం గుర్తించాలి.
We have to recognize the full meaning of Sat, Chit and Ananda.
భగవంతుడు,
Sat means Bhagavan.
చిత్తు జీవాత్ముడు.
Chit means Jivatma.
ఈ సత్తు చిత్తు రెండూ కలిగినప్పుడే ఆనందము.
Only when there is a union of Jivatma and Paramatma, there is
చిత్తుగా ఉంటే ఆనందం నీకు ఎక్కడ లభ్యమవుతుంది? లోకమే ప్రాప్తిస్తుంది.
when divine is divine and individual human being is individual human being,
ఈ రెండింటిని ఏకం చేయడానికి ప్రయత్నించాలి.
it is necessary to bring these two together.
నీకు లైట్
bring about
కావాలని
union.
ఆశించినప్పుడు
If you want to get light,
బల్బు ఉండాలి,
there is need for bulb.
కరెంటు ఉండాలి.
There is need for
ఈ
electricity.
రెండింటికి కనెక్షన్ చేసినప్పుడు కదా నీకు లైట్ లభిస్తుంది.
Only when you bring them together, you can get
లైట్
light.
చేతిలో పట్టుకొని బల్బు నాకు లైట్ కావాలి లైట్ రావాలంటే ఎట్లా వస్తుంది?
If you keep bulb in your hand and say, I want light, how can you get
ఇది
light?
కేవలం మూర్ఖం యొక్క అర్థము.
This becomes rather foolishness, stupidity.
ఎవడో ఒక ఇంటి లోపల శ్రీమంతుడు
One rich person in a
ఒక
home,
గాడ్రేజ్ లోపల అన్ని విలువైనటువంటి ఆభరణాలంతా పెట్టుకున్నాడు.
he preserved all the valuable jewelry in the iron safe.
దాని యొక్క దిగువ చెవును తన మొలలో కట్టుకున్నాడు.
He tied the keys round his waist.
దొంగలు వచ్చారు,
Thieves entered the house.
ఈ యొక్క పెట్టిని 10 మంది ఎత్తుకున్నారు,
These 10 thieves carried this iron safe.
లారీలో పెట్టుకున్నారు,
They put it in the lorry.
లారిపోయారు.
They took it away.
ఈ యొక్క తెలివి తక్కువ మనిషి ఏమనుకుంటున్నాడు చూసుకుంటున్నాడు, మొలలో బియ్యం చెవులు ఉన్నాయి.
This foolish man in the house, he is happy but he is having the keys.
తిరుపతి రాకి బియ్యం చెవులు నా దగ్గర ఉన్నాయి.
Let them carry the iron safe, but the keys are with me, he says. Foolish one he is.
ఈ విధంగానే ఉంటున్నారు ఈనాటి యొక్క భక్తులు సాధకులు.
Today, devotees and sadhakas are like this.
దేవుడు ఎక్కడున్నాడు? నేను గ్రంథంలో చదువుతున్నాను, శ్లోకాలంతా కూడా కంఠస్థం చేసుకున్నాను, శ్లోకాలు నా దగ్గర ఉంటున్నాయి కాబట్టి దేవుడు నా దగ్గర ఉన్నాడు.
Where is God? I am reading the slokas. And God is...
ఈ శ్లోకాలకు అర్థములకు సంబంధమైనటువంటి ఆచరణ ఒకటి ఉండాలి కదా.
Only when one practices what one reads and understands,
ఈనాడు ఆచరణ లేదు.
today practice is nil.
ఎక్కడికి పోయినప్పటికీ మన యొక్క తుచ్చభావంలో మనకు తలంపులకు వస్తుంటాయి.
Go wherever you want. Only mean thoughts dominate you.
If you notice, Swami chose to use the word God for Sat, and the earlier definition was Satyam, as is Sat, meaning the truth. So which is true? So there are ways how we can look at it. So we all understand, I think, for multiple satsangs now, that truth is the embodiment of the divine or the supreme being itself. And so that's why hence Swami's name, Sri Satya Sai Baba. Satya means the truth. So even in Swami's Gayatri, Sai Shwarai Vitme, Satya, so there's always truth in the essence of divinity itself. So perhaps that could be one of the reasons why Swami chose to use Sat, the term God, to refer to Sat. However, at the same time, the core message here is that we should not think that the Jivatma, we are all just Jivatma, and the Paramatma, as in God, is separate than us. If we do that, that is the first step of ignorance itself at the very beginning stage, because we tend to divide ourselves, or we tend to create duality in our mind, meaning to say that God is not all inclusive, but exclusive of myself. He is a part of me, not a part of me. So when we have that kind of duality, the experience of Chit Ananda becomes a bit more of a challenge. However, people may disagree to this, especially those who are in the early stages of Bhakti revolution. They always believe that the, the deity that they worship is separate from them. But as they keep on worshipping and as they adore the deity and they become more linked or more connected to that deity, somewhere down the line, they realize that they are also a part of that particular deity. So similarly, we should never think that we are different than Swami. We should never think that Swami is separate from me. Swami always says that I'm within you, above you, below you, in front of you, behind of you. So if we really just use this particular term, this prayer, if we just close our eyes, and what does it mean, or how does it feel when Swami says that he is within you, above you, below you, in front of you, and at the back of you, and all around you? So it only means that Swami is all pervasive, omniscient, omnipotent. But it can also mean that there is only one reality, and that is Satchit Ananda. And it also means that that reality of you and him, there's no division between it, which eventually boils down to the non-duality or Advaita principle. So ultimately, throwing away the ignorance that we are all Jivatma and focusing on the higher truth or the supreme truth, that there's only one reality and you are that particular reality and it's not different from, and your reality is not different from a microorganism which lives on you. So if you look at another good example would be if you take out like some scrapes of your skin, right? And then you put it on a microscope and you can find some small microorganisms which live. And they actually function as independent intelligence which work. Some skin ticks which are just ticks which actually live on our face or different parts of our skin. And they just survive there and we are not even conscious of them. But do they live on us? Yes. Are they conscious of us? Maybe not, may not be conscious of us. But do they exist? Yes. Do they need us to exist? Yes. Are we actually in the same reality as they are? Yes. Are we independent or we are all working in one reality where that particular intelligence depends on me and I depend on this body depends on that particular intelligence. Of course, we all work in an interrelated fashion where everything is dependent of each other. So that is perhaps our relation with Paramatma itself. The Jivatma's relationship with the Paramatma is somewhat similar in the sense that we may not be conscious of the Paramatma because of our own spiritual evolution. But ultimately, if you become conscious enough, you realize that you and the Paramatma are no different. And you don't need superpowers or you don't need siddhis or things like that to come up with that conclusion. Your very experience of the present moment itself can create or can bring you to that particular, or can get you to arrive at that conclusion. So moving forward, we would like to use this speech from Sri Satya Sai Speaks, Volume 20, 1987, where Swami speaks on God and you are one. Swami says, man inherently is the embodiment of Satchit Ananda, being awareness bliss. Sat is the unchanging state which is unaffected by the process of time, the past, present, and future. Chit is the capacity of awareness which enables one to know the outer and the inner truth about everything. And Ananda is that state of unalloyed bliss, which is pure and permanent. So in this presentation, we will be focusing on Sat, Chit, and also Ananda. Sometimes we, as spiritual seekers, we only focus on the Ananda part, the bliss, all the time. We are focused, we are doing spiritual, because life is too much of a suffering that psychologically we all, a lot of us are actually, inclined to do spiritual practices which give us more bliss, give us more Ananda. Swami, give me more bliss, give me more Ananda. But guess what? Ananda cannot be found in the future. It cannot be found in the past. If Ananda is to be experienced, it only can be experienced in the now. And we are all currently in that particular now. And the now is now and now and now. So realizing our true nature, meaning that when you realize that you are the unchanging state of I am, Brother James quite correctly mentioned just now, when you do the Soham meditation, you quite easily arrive at the I am, or the state of, the state, the unchanging state of your true nature. And then next is understanding that you are that particular awareness. And finally, then once you arrive and realize, you know that bliss is always here within your reach. And that is actually your true state of existence itself. And then Swami goes on to explain that when Sat, Chit, and Ananda appears as different and distinct aspects, how are they to be experienced as whole? So then Swami says, although they appear to be distinct, being Sat, awareness, Chit, bliss, Ananda, although they appear to be distinct, their unity can be illustrated by an example. Swami says the flame of a lamp has three features: the heat, the light, and the red color. Although these three features are distinct, the flame is one. So similarly, we cannot look at Sat, Chit, Ananda as three separate components, but we should try to experience it as one, as in the heat, light, and the red color. So the Sat, Chit, and the Ananda. And just as Swami mentioned here, all these three features are distinct. Although these three features are distinct, the flame is one. So though you may know the being, awareness, and bliss as separate in your experience, but your true nature is only one, which is you and God, non-duality. Swami goes on to explain that how is Satchit Ananda to be experienced? So now we have gone to, even in the talk just now, Swami says, he gave a wonderful example of how some learned people think that they have God with them because they have memorized all the Vedas and memorized all the Itihasas, all the Puranas and everything. So Swami says here, is it possible for the microcosm to experience the macrocosm? Such a doubt arises out of a sense of weakness. One should not give away to this. On the surface of the vast ocean, there are endless numbers of waves produced by the action of wind on water. The water in the ocean has the quality of coolness, transparency, and wetness. Every wave arising from the ocean has these three qualities. Likewise, every individual being who has issued from the infinite Chit Ananda has these three aspects of the divine. There is no need to succumb to the apparent contrast between the infinite and the minuscule finite. All things are permeated by the divinity that characterizes Chit Ananda. The term Deva or divinity means wholeness and immanence. Divinity is immanent in the Prakriti, whole of creation. We cannot exist otherwise. So this is the wonderful thing that Swami says here. So there's no need for us to actually focus on the apparent contrast between the infinite and the minuscule finite. So if you look at how the infinite consciousness experience itself, Swami always says that out of love, I divided myself from myself to experience myself. So through the infinite mind, then it divides itself to the finite mind, which are all of us. And from the finite mind, that finite mind experiences the Prakriti or experiences the whole creation. The reason why the finite mind actually thinks of itself as a separate entity is because of the presence of the ego. So the ego creates the sense of individuality. So that is why sometimes when we succumb to the ego, it is very difficult for us to realize the entirety of the truth that we come from the infinite mind. And that is the universal mind itself. So ultimately, the whole point of sadhana, spiritual sadhana, and what Brother James mentioned earlier about detachment, it actually plays a very important role, because the more you detach, the more the ego loses its grip on you. The more the ego loses the grip on you, the more you relax into the moment, and the higher the chances of you to recognize or to come into recognition of your true nature, which is Satchit Ananda. And so some people may argue, that Prakriti is also a part of the divine. So why not we just enjoy Prakriti as it is? If you look at Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he always has this very keen, very strong connection with the Divine Mother Kali. And the Divine Mother Kali is Prakriti itself. So the entire creation came out of the Divine Mother itself. And there's nothing wrong. Swami Vivekananda once said that there's nothing wrong if you can have that kind of intense relationship with God itself. And I think we all, every single one of us here who are on this call, we have that sort of a relationship with Swami. That intense relationship during sickness, during moments of happiness, during moments of sadness, during moments of danger, during moments of gratitude, during every single moment, be it happiness, be it sadness, be in every single mood that we have or every single fluctuation in our awareness, we always include Swami, and we are CIA, constant integrated awareness, constantly integrated with Swami. And that is completely fine. And it's completely fine. So, dear brothers and sisters, let us not focus on the limitations and focus on the absolute truth that you and God are one. And there's no separation between you and God. The illusion of separation only happens because of the identification, the limited identification we have, or this the strong sense of I am the body, I am the mind. Once you are able to let go of that belief by either doing the neti technique in your meditation, or whatever way that you do, uh, the belief that, or the experience that you are the body slowly starts to mellow down. That you are the mind slowly starts to mellow down in your experience. And when that dawns, naturally you will realize that sense of separateness between you and the mind. And the mind is just you, but it's not who you truly are. So, moving forward, Swami also says that the energy that is present in every object in creation is derived from that divine, Chit Ananda. Divinity represents the unity of Chit Ananda and Prakriti. In modern parlance, this may be stated as matter plus being is God. Even in modern times, scientists are finding it difficult to prove that they have actually scientifically proven that matter, individual atoms are actually conscious of their own existence. They're conscious as in they are aware. Even atoms are conscious. So if atoms are conscious, then the matter itself, everything, the wall beside you, the chair, the handphone, even your body, every single cell is conscious. Every single cell in your body has its own intelligence, has its own function, has its own way of preserving itself, has its own way of replicating itself, has its own way of reproducing, has its own way of, protecting itself or protecting other forms of your bodily function. So similarly, if the only reality is Paramatma, the only reality is you, it can also mean that matter and whatever you experience now is actually a manifestation of yourself, the true self, not the limited consciousness that we think we are, but our true self, which is the one unified consciousness. There are actually a lot of experiments as well to prove the fact that matter is conscious. So moving forward, what's stopping us from experiencing this Satchit Ananda? So this is where I would like to open the floor and, just get a few of you or anyone who's willing to maybe unmute themselves and maybe share your experience. There are no wrong and right answers here. What's stopping us from experiencing our true state? Anyone?
I think it's the ego and desire.
Fantastic system. Fantastic system. Ego.
Right.
Besides that, anyone else?
I think it could be the mind, because the mind is a bundle of thoughts. It's
Correct.
preventing the, separating the experience from the divine.
Correct. Fantastic.
I think in spiritual parlance, we can say the ignorance, because mind is required to move towards God. But since it is connected and identifying with the world, that's why it's moving away. So mind is required to know, because you see, if you take a steam engine is like a body, the material thing, and the consciousness is like the steam. So to realize that what is this creation is, you need an engine, and you need the steam too. And that is what is the most important thing, is that we need the world. Then only we can, then we can realize that there is nothing true in it, and we have to find what is the God is. So is the ajnana which has to be removed, and once that is done, I think we are there, and with the bliss. I think that is the reason that, when Satyuga and all those times, when God Brahma created the universe and the creation, people just sit for meditation and they will reach the God. So as the yugas passed, more and more difficulties were created. The rishis and munis, the more and more maya was created, and it became difficult to reach the God, because the purity was not there. The ignorance was more and more. And in today's world, the ignorance is, I think, on the top. And that is the reason that we are more materialistic, we are more attached to the world, and we are going away from the spirituality. So the steam, what is required to run the locomotive, is part of this whole process of knowing that I'm something else, because steam engine has to move, and without that consciousness of steam, it cannot move. So in the same way, the day we realize that we are the steam, not the engine, not the cast iron part of it, and it is all because of the ignorance. When that is done, I think we will reach our true state of Satchit Anand, and that is what is the whole process, the whole journey of our life is. Sairam.
Thank you, Brother Manoj. Anyone else who wants to
Can I add
add
on?
on? Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
Sure.
just now you said the point that we are not conscious enough to know that we are God, or we do not accept that we are God. In a way, is correct. Even I myself now, you say, I know I'm not God. I'm not equal to God. Because when I say this, I'm using the mind and the body. Now, to experience the God itself is the silent, the bliss level. But we also know inside us, there is the real self, the real God within you. That is the big self. Our body is the small self, right? So no matter how we discuss, how we talk also, right? As long as we have the body and the mind, you will never experience God. So it's only through sadhana, seva, purify mind and heart, right? And then get the God's grace, and then do your meditation, because meditation is all about letting go. Until one day, there is no more mind, no more body, you experience the bliss, and that is God. Even that also, there is still higher level. Even that is only the beginning. There is still even higher level. So it is correct. 99% of us will say, I'm not God. But I know inside God is within. Otherwise, I can't talk to you, I can't see you. All right? So we know there is something that is within us. But it's not the mind, it's not the body. So the mind, the body say, I'm not God, it's true. But the other truth is, the real one that is inside you, the big self, you know it's inside you. But you have to experience it. It's not talking. You do the right sadhana, the right direction, the right step, then one day you will experience it. Sairam.
Sairam. Thank you, Brother James.
Sarah, brother.
Sairam, brother.
I think one of the things which we have to consider is along the journey of our life until the stage you are in, you have had some bitter experiences in life. You had some happiness, you had some sadness, and such things that had impacted your life may be blocks which seems to be within you, but you have continued your life with the blocks. And along the path, you are under strain, the blocks. So these blocks, we are talking about experiencing God, has to be removed first, has got to be taken off first in the journey towards experiencing the divine. So what's stopping us from experiencing? It's the emotional, the psychological, the mental blocks. What are the blocks? For instance, the young man says, I cannot do it. I'm unable to do it. I don't have the experience in it. I don't think I like it. I think the other person is better. This kind of blocks prevents you from rising to the occasion. So you have got to remove it by several ways. The best way is, of course, sitting down, as we do in Balvi class, the silent sitting, where you are made to relax. You relax and you come to terms with yourself in order to experience something from the silent sitting, the calmness. The calmness will gives you energy. The energy will help you to open your intellect. You're able to reason. You're able to see things clearly. And the divine light is to see, experience that clarity. So you have got to remove it. How are you going to remove it? That is an exercise which has got to be done over a period of time. One way is, of course, by way of silent sitting meditation. And as you do that, you have gone through an exercise of relaxation, and that will help you to decondition yourself from the blocks which are there. But sometimes you're not able to see the blocks clearly. So on going deep within you, and if you think carefully, you will see what the blocks are. They are all very artificial. So how do you remove that? One of the best ways is affirmation statements. You make affirmations. For instance, you can say, I can do anything. You're unable to sing. I can sing beautifully. You're unable to take challenge. You're frightened. I can take challenge. These kind of things. So this will promote the confidence in you. It will also be a window to clear the air for you to experience something higher than where you were because of the blocks. So the blocks are supposed to be part and parcel of life due to past experiences, but such blocks can be removed and must be removed. And the method would be the art of relaxation and listening to your heart, and then coming to a relationship, connecting with the divine within you, and that helps you to experience, of course, through meditation, silent sitting in the beginning, meditation, contemplation, helps you further and further to reach the higher and higher aspects of what you wish to experience. It is a journey. That's what I wanted to say, Brother Sarah.
Thank you so much, Brother Rama, for pointing that out. So we had a wide range of answers there, starting from Sisters Rajeshwari speaking about ego and how the ego can actually, the identification with the ego itself can actually, prolong our journey of, the spiritual journey that we all are in. Number two is, Brother Billy spoke about the mind itself, and of course, the attachment to the mind, the belief that I am the mind, so the mind, the body. and that can also be a form of ignorance, which moves on to what Brother Manoj mentioned, which quite rightfully blends and brings together all the other answers, even what Brother James mentioned and Brother Rama mentioned at the end. So ultimately, what is stopping us is the ajnana, or the ignorance itself. And the whole point we are in this spiritual journey is to realize that this form of imperfections or the ignorances that exist within our conscious experience, and making moment to moment effort. I'm always amazed by the story Professor Suresh repeats. No matter how many times you hear it, you just feel that it gives you that courage, the sense of the energy to persevere. And he says that once he took Swami's hand and put on his head and asked for the ultimate liberation. And Swami says, no, that you have to work. And that itself, it's such a validating statement. Some may perceive it negatively, but for me, it's just such a validating statement, because for those of us who have not been in contact with Swami's physical presence, we're always there we have always been with his omniscience and omnipresence. So this actually gives a sense of hope, a sense of that energy, that Shakti within us, to continue our sadhana, to continue persevering and not to give up. So thank you everyone for sharing. So now let's move on to see actually what's stopping us. Swami says that there are 4 obstacles that have to be overcome. In this pursuit of this fundamental quest, 4 major obstacles have to be overcome. They are avidya pratibandhakam, prajna pratibandhakam, kudarka pratibandhakam, viparyaya duragraha pratibandhakam. So this may sound like something alien for most of us. So no worries. We will delve deeply into each one of them. So we really get the essence of the obstacles that needs to be overcome in order for us to realize our true self. So the 4 obstacles are, the first one is avidya pratibandhakam. What does this mean? Avidya pratibandhakam is the impediment that arises out of the feeling that one is too weak and powerless to seek the divine. As long as this sense of weakness remains, man cannot understand the omni-self. So this is somewhat similar to what Brother Rama mentioned earlier. He mentioned that sometimes the weakness, the lassitude, the feeling that I'm not good enough, can be an obstacle or impediment for us to realize our inherent divinity. Even if we examine Swami's life, a lot of obstacles, he has gone through a lot of obstacles. And yet, despite all of it, because his conviction is so strong, he knows, because of that, whatever comes in his way, it's nothing for him. So similarly, in order for us to realize our inherent divinity, we should let go of that feeling that one is too weak or powerless to seek the divine. We should always focus that like Swami says, that you are the divine. I am the divine. I am the light. There's no difference between me and Swami. I am Chit Ananda. Now we move to the second part of the obstacle. Prajna pratibandhakam. So prajna pratibandhakam is the obstacle that is created by self-conceit. When one feels that he knows everything and is unwilling to learn from elders, he becomes unfit for undertaking the spiritual quest. The moment we say I've known everything, or I know because I've read the Vedas, I can chant all the, the all the Vedic scriptures and everything by heart. I by hearted everything. So hence, I know everything. Even if you look at Shirdi Sai Satcharitra, there are so many such scholars who have ultimately fallen on Shirdi Sai's feet because of this one particular obstacle, which is the Pratnya Pratibandhakam, self-conceit itself, the sense of unwilling to learn. Sadhguru also mentions in his talks that the moment you say, I know, you are a fool. The moment you say, I don't know, so I want to know, you open up a lot of possibilities in your life. You open up a lot of gates, a lot of doors in front of you to experience. So, we have covered Avidya Pratibandhakam and Pratnya Pratibandhakam. Now let's move on to the third one, which is Kudarka Pratibandhakam. Kudarka Pratibandhakam is faced by those who are caught up in illogical reasoning and false arguments. They give far-fetched interpretations to the pronouncements of sages and engage themselves in meaningless controversies. I think this we are quite aware. There are a lot of debates outside nowhere. It's good to have intellectual debates, but at the same time, sometimes what happens is that when we are so into the technicalities or into the language for that matter, or even how the scriptures are placed here and there and the arrangements and so on and so forth, we actually are moving away from the message itself, what the scriptures meant to teach us. And finally, Viparyaya Duragraha Pratibandhakam. This is caused by ignorance of one's inner reality and a refusal to make the effort to understand it. So this is caused by the ignorance of one's inner reality and a refusal to make the effort to understand it. It arises out of a feeling of ignorance that one knows everything and has no need to learn from others. So this is something similar to what Brother Manoj mentioned earlier. The ignorance, not only ignorance, there's also no effort to understand it. So when we look at this, the second part here, there's no effort to understand this. Somewhat within myself, I tend to, perhaps I beg to differ in my experience, because in my experience, I believe that the effort to understand it also comes from the grace of the Lord. If there's no grace, or if there's no willingness from the Lord for us to experience it or to make effort in the spiritual journey, very high chances that we are just contented with whatever we have in our lives. We might not want to even make an effort to wake up in the morning or participate in bhajans or in different types of sadhana, whatever we choose to do in our life, service and etc. etc. So even the fact that to make the effort also comes from the grace of the Lord, because we need to realize that you need to make the effort. And only when you realize, then you start making effort. And that realization dawns only, I don't think it dawns for everyone at a particular instance. It perhaps happens at a gradual pace. I'm not very sure about that. But I do think that it has, it's interlaced with grace as well. And like what Brother James mentioned earlier, that, no matter what you do, you keep on doing your sadhana, persevering in that. Ultimately, it's the grace of the Lord which actually wins you that liberation. So similarly, I believe that it is the grace of the Lord which actually pushes you in that path to to realize, to wanting to change that, you know. So these 4 obstacles that have to be overcome, Swami continues to say that the cause of this arrogance is Maya or delusion. Maya is present when one sees the unreal as real and real as unreal.
Sabbitan, I think the earlier 4 statements is good to just contemplate on the 4, because this is where I think we can relate a lot to what we are, where we are, at what stage we are, and how do we provide. So in all the 4, you see, because then this is 4 very nice categories that has been given to us, but it is for us to see what we are. And don't forget, sometimes we can switch also, you know. Sometimes you can come to the 4th stage, and then I think you can also go back to 1 also, because at certain stage of your life, you can just feel complacent, I'm not interested. Or for that matter, you can come to bhajan level and remain there, stuck there, you know. That's it. You think we can reach God. So there are many concepts that we have ourselves accepted, and to some extent, to whatever extent it is avidya also. That is why in our prayer, asatoma sargam, wave from real to unreal. When you reach a point, we need to go to higher levels of truth, higher levels of truth, higher levels of truth. But if you're stuck in somewhere, then that is also another level of avidya, though you're in vidya. That means you think you are in a knowledge path and you're moving towards, but you may be just stuck there and think that is the world, is it? So this is a very beautiful thing which normally not seldom spoken about. From which text you took this?
From the Satisfied Speaks, the same one what I mentioned earlier.
So dear brothers and sisters, please contemplate. Anybody want to ask anything regarding to this?
Okay, so maybe we'll just go one by one, and then what we can do is we can open the floor and ask everyone to give us a few examples of what is if there's something which resonates within ourselves to that particular statement, what is it which resonates? Even if it's a vulnerability, it's okay, because it's common humanity means we have common thoughts, and when we speak our common thoughts, we share our vulnerabilities. Number 1, it's a form of healing when we ventilate. Number 2 is also a form of support for others. So others may also feel that, oh, okay, I also have this thing, so now I want to work on it as well, because of recognition. When you put it out there, people see, people recognize. So if you don't put it out there, it may feel like as if they don't, it completely stays hidden in our psyche. So now let's go on to the first one, which is avidya pratibandhakam. I will go through the definition, and then we'll open it to the floor to share their experiences. It can be anything, no right and wrong answers. Yeah. Okay. So avidya pratibandhaka means it is the impediment that arises out of the feeling that one is too weak and powerless to seek the divine. As long as this sense of weakness remains, man cannot understand the omni-self. I repeat, yeah. Avidya pratibandhakam is the impediment that arises. Impediment means like an obstacle that arises out of the feeling that one is too weak and powerless to seek the divine. As long as this sense of weakness remains, man cannot understand the omni-self. Okay. So now we open to the floor. Is there anyone who would like to comment or give your opinion or anything for you to share, whatever resonates with you? No right and wrong. Just open.
Just want to share real life experience. I have a friend. We learn meditation together. Now this friend is very shy, and then he's not good at speaking. Even he speak also he shiver, right? So very timid kind of person, right? But he joined the meditation for years, joined the meditation for years. You will never imagine that one day he become a meditation teacher. Can you imagine that? I was shocked, and he become a totally changed person. That was really something, you cannot judge the person by the look, After more than 10 years, how they are, suddenly he go and learn and become a guru himself, become a teacher. That is very interesting. Another one is another brother who is giving a lot of problem to the family because of his ego, and because probably he's born not as normal as most people, a bit dumb, but he is very aggressive, very egoistic. The family cannot handle him. But he joined the center, with a lot of patience, a lot of tolerance, Even you get scolded for him for nothing, for nothing, You want to help him also, you get scolding from him, So this is the kind of person you face, But after more than 10 years joining the center, he become changed a lot. He has changed a lot. Although not perfect, changed a lot. Even the parent and sister are very happy that he come to the center. He has learned a lot. But one thing good about this brother is that every time he did something wrong, he will come back and tell you, James, I'm sorry, that day I did like that, I did like that. He will come back and tell you, he apologized, This is the good thing about it. You give me 1-2 hours to think, maybe 1-2 days, he will actually come back and tell you, I'm sorry. You don't have to tell him. You tell him he's wrong, he will argue with you. He will scold you, right? But he, with a sense of 1-2 days, that he realized, he will come back and apologize. Today he is a much better brother, not perfect, but improved a lot. The parent also said very happy that my son always come and he has improved a lot. Sairam.
Thank you, Brother James, for sharing two wonderful examples there. The first one is the meditation teacher, the person who transformed himself from being this shy, timid person to eventually becoming a meditation teacher himself. And I guess the more you detach, the more you let go, you also let go of those negative cognitions that we all hold together. In psychology, we call these our core beliefs. So we all have our core beliefs. So the way to know our core beliefs is if we just close our eyes and we just say, I am, and the first thought which comes out from your psyche, from your mind, is a very deep sense of core belief. If you force yourself and say, I am divine, then it means you're actually putting in a belief. But your core beliefs are beliefs that have come with you since your childhood because of maybe bullying, because of being scolded by a particular teacher, or being put down by somebody, or being physically abused, sexually abused, so many things that we have all gone through, different traumas in our life. So we have all these negative core beliefs. And the more you meditate, the more this from the inner psyche or inner mind, we have our conscious, subconscious, unconscious. So it all comes out during meditation. It's like a form of cleansing which takes place. And the more you disidentify with those thoughts, the more you let go of these negative cognitions and you come up to realize that you are that eternal truth, that the Vidya itself comes revealing from within yourself. And the second example Brother James brought up also is a wonderful example of how the intellectually challenged person or the special person transformed himself in terms of emotion and also in terms of emotional regulation and how he can actually his behavior, his transformation was observed by people around him. So that's a wonderful sharing, Brother James. Anyone else?
Sairam, I was in the first,
Sure.
I had experience this. I was very weak. I thought I was weak. I can't face anything because of my education, main thing. So I don't come forward. But now I'm not like that. I'm not scared I'm not afraid to make mistakes. And because I know there are people to correct me and people there to understand me. So I have overcome that and I have no fear at all. And today's Dr. Sabbitan presentation was very fantastic, and I was able to see myself in him giving the presentation, which I can't do it. Thank you so much.
It's not me, it's always him. It's only will that has has brought this message here. And thank you for sharing that, sister. A lot of us actually have this sense of insecurity because of education, because the society places such a high level of value for education. A few, I think maybe a month ago, I was invited by an NGO to give a talk with Professor Kadir Ibrahim. So Professor Kadir Ibrahim is a very famous motivational speaker in Malaysia. And then there were a few renowned lawyers, and then a few doctors, and there was also one person. He is the head of the police in from the state of Malacca. So we were all put on a stage, and we were given a few minutes to speak on our topic. And of course, we all spoke in Tamil, and our audiences were all the Tamil school students from the entire state, the state of Malacca, all the Tamil schools from the state. And we had almost about 250 to close to 400 students, primary school students. And while Professor Kadir Ibrahim was speaking after our speech and all, and he gave this one statement which really struck me as well. What he said was, the only differentiating factor between all the speakers, we were all seated on the stage at that time, between all the speakers and all of you sitting in the audiences, they were not only students, they were teachers and some other people as well, commoners as well, parents and all. The only difference between them and you is that they have education and you have not met that education. That's why they are here to share. So which really struck me. All the while, I never thought education was very important. I thought, okay, it's the means of access to something. But when he said that, it really brought the sense of importance. But at the same time, we shouldn't feel insecure, like what Sister Rajesh mentioned earlier, that just because I'm not as educated as someone, it means that I'm deficient in some way. If you look at Mother Teresa, you look at all the prominent people on the planet, and if you just go through their portfolio and their education level, I don't think it's very, it's amazing. But what amazes us is how they live their life. And the reason why we follow Swami or all the spiritual gurus, because of how they live their life. And that carries more value than what education you have. So thank you, Sister Rajesh, for sharing that. Of course, we are reminded of Professor Suresh's slide on, like how there's this hierarchy he puts in one of his slides. Ultimately, it's the Swami who's not educated, he's the top of the hierarchy, and everyone else follows the Swamiji. Hopefully, our Suresh and I can share the slide after the end of the presentation. This is a wonderful slide. So thank you, Sister Rajesh. Anyone else wants to share for the first one, Avidya Pratibandhakam?
Yeah, aside, brother. I just wanted to give example that Thomas Edison was the biggest example of that. He was so curious, and then he was removed from the school, and his mother taught him at home. And he was one of the biggest scientists he turned out to be. So formal education is not the way of connecting or becoming successful. It is how your mental faculty of courage, of connectivity, of concentration, and of the inspiration to bring something unique, that matters a lot. To give you an example, our present India's Prime Minister, he's a son of a tea seller. And if you listen to his speeches, he talks about Veda, he talks about Sanskrit, he talks about everything. He has never had any education. It's just all practical experiences he has. So what I'm feeling is that this pratibandhakam means, pratibandh means it's a restriction. It's pratibandh means somebody is going and you pratibandh, you stop him there. That is what pratibandh means in Hindi and Sanskrit. So this is what Swami is talking about, is that we cannot grow our potentials to the highest because we have made our self-imposed restrictions. I cannot do it. I cannot progress. Oh, he's so intelligent. I'm not that intelligent. But this self-imposed restriction is not making him, that person, fulfill his full-blown knowledge to come. And that is what our EHV is taking out. Swami has brought it, that taking out the inner divinity or inner knowledge within us. So all the knowledge of the world is within every mind. It's only that we put our own restrictions, thinking that I cannot do it. And once that barrier is removed, I think no knowledge is known to him. Because see, there are a lot of people who just don't prepare anything. You just give them a topic and they will speak, isn't it? From where the knowledge comes? It comes with the calmness, with the concentration. The mind flows in different directions and collects the right examples, collects the right symmetrical examples so that people can understand. So this is what is the pratibandhakam means. Once a man breaks away that, what the brother Rama was saying, that block in himself, that I cannot do it, then he is restricted to that. And for that, this avidya is the main thing, because we think that we are limited body, we are limited, we have a life which is just 50-year, 80-year, 100-year-old. We never realize that we are ever awake. If we think that the body is just a change of clothes, so we will not fear death. If something bad is happening, is something which is not to our favor, we will not feel sad, because that is part of the creation. It has happened, it has happened, it has happened. Let's see what is good in it and be happy with that. So we change our mind attitude towards the problem, and we remain happy. Even there is for somebody it's the most miserable thing, but for you it will become a most experienced thing, because then that's what Edison said. I knew that 1,000 way of not to make electricity after such a big failures and everything. So all these things, how the mind acts as an attitude, it breaks away all the barriers, and then it blossoms into the full intelligent being in the world. But our goal is a spirituality. So in the spiritual field, we turn towards becoming more divine, more loving, more caring, so that we encompass everybody. So that is what avidya pratibandhakam means. Sairam.
Sairam, brother. Sairam. What I feel is sometimes this weakness to seek the divine, it's not the weakness that we have. We have the power, and we want to seek the divine. That instinct is there in us, but due to some laziness or some body consciousness, we tend to neglect it. That is what I feel sometimes that has happened to me. And also sometimes we are inconsistent with what we do. It has to be consistent progress.
Thank you, sister. Yeah. Go ahead, sister.
So that is what I feel. Not that we are weak or powerless. We are willing to seek the divine, but due to the Maya or the body consciousness or the weakness or the laziness, we tend to deviate from that path a little.
So, Sabbitan, I just want to say something.
Sure.
Yeah. So, in the Upanishad Vahini by Swami, Bhagavan said this. Upanishad Vahini, Baba mentions that. In the opening paragraph of that, in the first chapter 1, Swami said, Upanishad Vahini, Swami said, The unentanglement of the self from the five senses is the way towards liberating yourself. One line, just one line, is a signature line. Need to contemplate on this. The entanglement, the unentanglement of the self from the five elements is the pavement or the paving way towards liberation. What does it mean? You see, just now sister mentioned this, I'm responding to what sister said, and she's right in saying it, but we must now understand why is that happening? This laziness, this complacency, these things, why is that happening? It's because of our entanglement with the senses. Why is that? How is the entanglement taking place? What do you mean by the elements? So now you look at the creation, the way the world is created. So from the creation, Brahman is the supreme, and from there the primordial force, and from there you get the ether or space, and from space you get the air, and then from the air you get the fire, from the fire you get the water you get the earth. So this is the sequence of how the creation took place. So now if you look at it from the first element itself, which is the space, from the space you listen to the sound. Now, this is the first modification of your perception, because from the sound, from what you hear, you start influencing the way the world is being perceived. Then goes to, like that, you go through senses. For example, air means sense of touch. Then you go to the fire. Fire is the eyes. So from eyes you can see. So what you see is going to condition your perception. Then what you taste is going to condition, because after that is water. And finally earth is smell. So all the five senses are now engaging. Once you start engaging with the world, you are decoding whatever that you are seeing. Wow, now comes the identity, the formation of the identity, the formation of attachments. All this is coming out, and then it gives you a false identity of the world and our relationship with the world. So once, this is called the yoga, this is, now we are part and parcel of your yoga maya. Now don't forget, yoga maya is also the intrinsic power of God. So it's not something different. So since it is intrinsic part of God, and since we are entangled with the world, we start to think that the world is real and there is no necessity for me to vigorously work our salvation or redemption. So that is where we fall into this first part, avidya, which is, I have no energy. I'm not at all interested even to know what the reality is. I'm not bothered. What's your problem? I'm happy. So that is the way of the world. Why are you, hey guys, listen, at the age of 65, 60, you can go to God. You fellas now got the energy, what are you doing with your life, man? You're sitting in the bhajan hall. Gee, you're completely wasted your life. Actually, these are statements that people have told me also. They were all echoing the same thing when I was very vigorously going towards this direction. Everybody came and told me that I'm wasting my time with this life where you should spend in many, many things. What is this and all? So, okay, so what I'm trying to tell you is that this is all because of the entanglement. Now, watch this. This is very important point to watch. Now we are already entangled. You see, we are already entangled inside. So you will begin to see the reality in which the world is now trying to project to you. So now we already are trapped inside. So the teacher comes. When the teacher comes, he has to now slowly unentangle us. Don't forget, because the element's already inside. Now he looks around, he sees what is the technology to do this. So the technology to do that is, in the first instance, who is getting entangled? The self is getting entangled. So now he must withdraw the self from the world. How does he do that? So now, hey, listen, every week you go and do this 4 hours of seva. So when you go and do the seva, what's happening now? Your self is becoming selfless, less of self. Why? When you go to the leprosarium, old folks home, you have no business to go there. You have no benefit of this, no recognition, no fame, no glory. What now comes? Action without reaction. Wow. Now, when you have an action without reaction, self is not getting engaged. When the self is not getting engaged, the self is now slowly, like the octopus tentacles now is slowly withdrawing from the world. So we continue practicing this, the self is entangled. You see, we are moving it out, moving it out, moving it out. Once this movement is out, there will be clarity in our mind. The mind is not easily delusioned. The moha will slowly disappear. You will find that the strength will slowly come inside. So now you have the vigor to question. There, what is actually life? Actually, I nowadays I begin to think. You see, have you noticed? Initially, never thought that. After going, I don't know. Sometimes I think, is this all necessary or not? The day when is this all? See, why you suddenly start questioning? Because your self has withdrawn from the world. Once the self has withdrawn from the world, you become more and more Atmic conscious. This is triggering questions. That's why Swami said, sadhana is, spirituality is 1/4 sadhana, 3/4 inquiry. See? 3/4 inquiry. That is the basis. A jnani must question. So the questioning mind comes in. Once the questioning mind comes in, then you got no more problem. Then you're on autopilot. Then you can slowly transcend all the thing and reach the end. Because now you know that you are in the prison. See, even as we travel along, suddenly you may find that I know a little bit. So now I know a little bit knowledge. I can develop my second level of self-conceit, Don't forget, spiritual arrogance is the worst arrogance. Spiritual arrogance is the worst egoism that you can ever find. Don't forget, Ravana was 64 branches of knowledge. Swami said, Ravana got 64 branches of knowledge. Rama had only 32. Rama is good. Ravana is great. Don't go for greatness because you will lose goodness. But go for goodness, greatness will follow, Baba said in one discourse. So in the same way, we can develop what is called self-conceit. We can develop that. So we must never assume that the moment you enter into spirituality, that these things are going to be disappearing. In fact, it will follow. That is why the last thing that disappears is our own ego, because you need that ego for us to finish this. But that ego itself must be vigilant over that. Then you can come to the third point, where once you start developing all kinds of funny idea that you're God, you can start arguing. In fact, the more and more spiritual you become, when somebody else is also talking nonsense, you will tend to enjoy that nonsense, because that is his perception. He has the right to say it because that is his perspective. You will not be argumentative. Say, no, brother, I don't think so. You won't be argumentative, nor will you be able to, you're not interested, unless he genuinely comes to you and tells you that that this is what it is. Then only you start your knowledge, just as how silent Krishna was in the first chapter. It's only after that only he walloped him out of shape in the 17 chapters. So the question is, in the first thing is that it doesn't matter. So you find that you're not talking, you're not simply arguing. You will enter slowly into what is called the witness mode. Witness mode, that is what spirituality is all about. Entering into the witness mode where you see everything as a movie. You can see yourself participating in that movie. That is how detachment takes place. Because yourself is withdrawing, you're withdrawing from the world. So you are going to work, no doubt. But you are not, is it or like that? You give your best, but you find that, fine, I will do my best. That doesn't matter. You have that equilibrium attitude that will come inside. That is how spiritual growth is all about. Finally, you have the inner reality. This inner reality, the most important thing in spirituality is never to lose. See, we always tell, oh Lord, take away everything, but don't take my yearning from you. Even to yearn for you is, I need grace. Please don't take that one, Baba. You take that yearning must be strong. So once we have that yearning, you will be continuously connected to the inner reality. Because the inner reality, we can get disconnected, because don't forget, lots of people so vigorously, they come spirituality, suddenly some things happen in their life, they lose out. They move out from their life. Suddenly some people can become completely opposite to spirituality also. Why? Because the connectivity to the inner reality is the most important, and we must not get plugged out. It is almost like the astronaut floating in the sky, but he knows that he can get back into the spaceship after landing on the moon because of the cable. That cable is the Atmic connectivity that we must have. Otherwise, once we lose that connectivity, wow, we can actually turn the other way around in a very, very powerful way, in a strong way. So these 4 levels of ignorance is very, very strong and very, very powerful, very, very good reminder, because we can always develop a false identity. Even those who are very close to Swami, Baba for many, many years, can develop a false conceit. Oh, do you know, brother, 20 years I was in the ashram. Do you understand that? I was the one who was massaging his feet, and I can have that self-conceit. Yeah, because it gives me a sense of, wow, I did this, therefore wow. When this type of notions come in, is the most dangerous notion. This is spiritual. You see, brothers, let me tell you, you start with 8 lanes in the road, highway 8 lanes, then it comes to 6 lanes, then it comes to 4 lanes, then it comes to 2 lanes, and as you keep on traveling, you'll come to 1 lane, and then 1 lane will become a lorong, and then the lorong will become a small slippery lane, then it becomes like going to the mountain, one small wedge, then you'll be very thin, then finally it is walking on a rope, then finally it's walking on a thread. See, that's why the final point is discrimination. The point is extremely varied. Otherwise, you will find if we can easily slip off, that false illusion comes in, we can easily slip off. This is the most dangerous. This is Swami about whatever it is, you are the one, you are the one, you are the one. Keep on saying you are the one, you are the one, because this kind of ignorances suddenly can come and cover. Why go so far? The highest Advaita scholar, Adi Shankara, also had developed this. At the height of it, that when Chandala came in front of him and asked, so he looked at him and asked him to move. Then Chandala was actually Lord Shiva. He came in disguise and asked him, what do you want me to move? Me or the body? Then he looked at it straight away. Then he saw from a third eye, my God, Lord Shiva himself. So how did the Advaita scholar develop that ignorance? How? Because ignorance is something that can come to the greatest of the greatest and make us fall. So the fact is, Asato Ma Saggama, the final prayer is very powerful. Oh Lord, this is also illusion. This is also, I know, who are you, Baba? Who are you? So that earnestness must be continuously done. Otherwise, we can easily slip off. So this vigilance, spirituality is nothing but being vigilant. That vigilance is what the snake around Lord Shiva, where the snake is there, but it's no poison, but you have to be vigilant, because this is the ego that can block us and come back. So these 4 obstacles is very powerful and so we have to keep on evaluating where we are in terms of these 4 levels of ignorance. We have exceeded by 6 minutes, Sabbitan. So you still haven't finished, isn't it, Sabbitan? No. So now there are bigger...
Quarter.
Yeah,
just a quarter. Yeah.
It's okay, no problem. But I the reason why I stopped you here is because this subject is deep subject. So if you go to other thing, you miss out quite a bit. So good. Thank you so much. A very nice session, very powerful. Thank you, Sabbitan. It's very, very good. That so much to understand. We'll return back next week for sure and continue this. But meanwhile, please contemplate on some of these things. And if you got any more questions, then we can always come back next week. Till we meet again. Sai Ram.